Hello, everyone who has joined. I'm going to wait a couple minutes to get started to make sure everyone can access the webinar. I will be back shortly. If you're just joining us, we will begin shortly. I'm waiting for a few more people to join the webinar, and then we will begin in just a few minutes. Again, if you're just joining the webinar, thanks for joining. We'll get started in about a minute. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name's Alana Aaron. I'm the Director of Elementary School Computer Science Academics for the Department of Ed. Prior to this position, I was an elementary school classroom teacher in the NYC DOE in Washington Heights and the Bronx for the past 11 plus years. And I've been hosting computer science professional development for elementary school computer science for the past 2 years, and I'm really excited to be on board the CS for All team under the mayor's new initiative, which I will talk a little bit more about soon, that will help bring computer science to all New York City public school students over the next 9+ years. So thank you for taking the time on your Wednesday evening to join this webinar. We really appreciate your interest in the elementary school computer science pilot. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and get started with the presentation. But quickly before I do, hopefully you see a Q&A on the right-hand side of your screen. If you don't, you should be able to hover your mouse over the top of your screen and see an array of 9 little squares, one of which should say Q&A, or perhaps it's in the settings. Go ahead and try to find it. If someone wouldn't mind submitting a question so I can make sure it's working, or just say hello, that would be great. That way I know you can hear me at the very least. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the presentation, and I'll do my best to answer all questions at the Q&A portion of the presentation. All right, quickly before we get started, someone asked how long this webinar is going to be. It's scheduled for an hour. I anticipate it being less than an hour. My presentation is brief, and then it will depend on how many questions there are at the end of the presentation. So I believe the April 4th webinar lasted just over a half an hour. Thanks for asking. All right. So again, you're at the Cohort 1 application webinar for the elementary school computer science pilot. During this webinar, I will briefly go over what is the elementary school computer science pilot and how does it fit into CS for All. I will talk about the elementary school computer science pilot curriculum and resources, the program requirements, some application tips since you took the time out to attend, and the Q&A. So why computer science education? First of all, it's a social imperative. Computer science is not just about technology, it's about logic, problem solving, and creativity. So skills our students use in other areas, not just in technology. Early exposure to computer science is critical to addressing equity in tech education and in the tech industry. And computers and software are changing everything, but the majority of schools don't teach computer science. So you can see here 9 in 10 parents want their child to study computer science, but right now only 1 in 4 schools teach computer programming. So we are trying to change that. It's also an economic imperative. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts there will be more than 1 million open computing jobs in the US by 2024. And 71% of all new jobs in STEM are in computing, but only 8% of STEM graduates are in computer science. And computer science is relevant to all careers. So 67% of software jobs are outside the tech industry, and technology affects every field. So this is an important skill for all of our students to have, even if we're not trying to pump out programmers per se. So the goals of the elementary school computer science pilot, as many of you may know, in September of 2015, the mayor announced Computer Science for All, CS for All, an initiative that will provide CS education to every public school student over the next 10 years. So our goals are to increase the number of elementary school students, particularly from traditionally underrepresented groups, who will learn computer science, and to develop students' computational thinking and problem-solving skills in real-world contexts. So the curriculum and resources. If your school is selected to be a part of cohort 1, we will provide instructional support to your school. We will hold professional development for all teachers and pay per session for all professional development that is not during school hours. So this will include a mandatory 3-day summer institute the first 3 days of August. So that's August 1st through 3rd, which is a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There will be 4 mandatory bi-monthly Saturday sessions from October to May. So every other month beginning in October will be a mandatory full-day Saturday session. And then on the off months, there will be optional Saturday sessions, so 4 of those as well. So the computer science curriculum we will provide will include teacher-directed lessons, open-ended creative computing activities, topics such as, but not limited to, computer programming, robotics, physical computing, and maker education. And the curriculum will align with the Computer Science Teachers Association standards. Hopefully, they're currently updating those standards as I speak. So we will work with the new standards that they provide. We will also be providing material support to selected schools. So cohort 1 schools will receive some physical materials to support the implementation of the program. So this will include a laptop cart with 30 MacBook Pros, programmable robots, and plenty of swag for teachers and students alike. It's important to note we can only provide these resources for district public schools. Charter schools can only receive non-financial resources if they are selected. So in order to be considered for the pilot, first you have to be willing to offer the curriculum. So you'll have to provide computer science instruction to students in both the K2 grade band and the 3-5 grade band. We will help you practice approaches that increase inclusiveness in computer science and help dispel gender and ethnic stereotypes. And we are looking for schools who plan to ensure school-wide adoption of CS education beyond the pilot year. It's your responsibility to staff the program, so you'll have to provide at least 3 licensed teachers representing both grade bands. So the minimum requirement would be 1 teacher in the K2 grade band, 1 teacher from the 3-5 grade band, and a technology teacher where available. We do realize some schools don't have a technology teacher or a technology classroom. We won't hold that against you. So you could choose who that 3rd teacher would be on your 3-person teacher team. And as I'm sure many of you have noticed, you may have up to 7 people on the teacher team. So a 7-person teacher team would look like 1 lead teacher from each grade, K-5, and a technology teacher where available, ideally. So we are looking for at least several schools to have a team, a 7-person team that looks like that. You can have somewhere between 3 and 7. We've left that kind of open because we know different schools have different needs and different levels of interest and participation among the teachers. So we've left that flexible, but we are looking for schools that will provide a teacher from each grade level. But again, the minimum requirement is a teacher from each grade band and a technology teacher. And then it's important that you dedicate an administrator who will serve as the point of contact for the pilot and will provide direct oversight and monitoring of the program. So I started giving you some tips about your teacher teams. already. So the application, the form that you will be submitting, aims to collect information about your school so that we can know how to effectively support you, your teachers, and your students. So a lot of the questions are for us to better understand your school and your school needs. And the application also asks you to begin thinking about and planning how your school will implement the pilot curriculum for the 2016-17 school year if your school is selected. What we are looking for. So we are looking for thorough and thoughtful answers to the application questions. The more information you can provide us, the better we can get an idea of your school's needs and your school's wants, and why you are hoping to be a part of this pilot. We're also looking for a strong teacher team. So like I said, we are looking for several schools who will provide a lead teacher for each grade, plus a technology teacher where available, so that we can see how the computer science curriculum will look across all 6 grade levels. But we understand this is a big ask, which is why at the minimum, we are asking for teacher teams that cover both grade bands. And again, a dedicated administrator who will ensure implementation of computer science during the pilot year and after the pilot year. So the application timeline is here. I wanted to highlight a couple important dates. So you are already ahead of the game by being at this webinar. The final deadline to submit the application is next Friday, April 22nd at 5 p.m. Once all applications are received, selected schools will be contacted for site visits or interviews, either in person or on the phone, on Monday, May 6th, so you may or may not hear from us then. And by Monday, May 25th, final decisions will be sent to all. We will begin the professional development cycle the first week of August, like I said before, and we will launch the pilot in September. So I will go back to the screen where I can see all the questions. But if you have any questions after this webinar, please feel free to contact us at escsp@strongschools.nyc. I will be answering emails from that account along with my co-director, Lionel Bergeron, who is doing the elementary school pilot with me. All right, so Q&A. Let's see, meeting with admin tomorrow. Oh, let me select it. So these will be tagged in the video later. My apologies. So one question is, meeting with admin tomorrow to discuss their roles and which admin to list. Any more information on their roles would be helpful to share with them. That's a great question. So we expect different levels of participation from admin. Some administrators have expressed interest in being very active and even want to attend professional development. So we probably will invite administrators who want to attend professional development in the summer to the Summer Institute. However, that won't be a requirement. So the teacher teams will be required to be at that professional development, but admin will not. So again, the role of the administrator is to ensure implementation and provide direct oversight. Beyond that, and being a point of contact for us, for the school, but beyond that, most of our communication and work will be done with the teacher teams. So hopefully that answers that question. Another question here, how many schools are slated to participate? That's a great question. So we don't have an exact number of schools that we are going to accept. It depends on the size of the teacher team and the number of people we have the capacity to provide professional development for at one time. So depending on the size of the teacher teams, we anticipate accepting somewhere between 10 and 17 schools. So we do expect it to be competitive because we have seen a lot of interest, which is really exciting. But that being said, the more thoughtful your answers are and the stronger your application, the more likely it is that you will be accepted into the pilot. Hopefully that goes without saying, but I can't express enough how important it is for your answers to be thorough. Oh, and that being said, you can go back to your application anytime between now and the due date on the 22nd at 5 p.m. and edit and change your answers. So that's important to note. When you submit the form, you receive a link to go back and be able to edit it between now and the deadline. What is swag? Sorry about that. Swag is t-shirts, stickers, fun stuff with branding that the kids and teachers alike will enjoy. So we don't know exactly what those things will be yet, but typically swag is, you know, something with our logo on it that you will use. So t-shirts, stickers, water bottles, clipboards, those kinds of things. All right, here we have strong support of our principal, but she may want me as tech teacher, tech coordinator, Spock to be the point of contact. Is that okay? I need to let my principal know. So we do ask that your administrator be the point of contact in the application. But if you're accepted into the pilot and your principal prefers that you're the person we reach out to more often, that's fine. And we will discuss all those things once schools are selected. For now, for the purpose of the application, we need to know that there is an administrator on board who's willing to be the point of contact, just so we know we have the support of the administrator. But once we get started with the pilot, we'll be communicating more with the teachers than with the administrators, is what I imagine. May we have a copy of your presentation, please? I will share this presentation if you'd like, so you could show it to other people on your staff. This webinar will be, the YouTube recording will be posted on the same page where you registered to attend. So at sepnyc.org/ESCSP/webinars, you'll be able to access this if you would like to show it to other people. If you email me at escsp@strongschools.nyc, the email address showing on your screen, I will gladly share this presentation with you. I assume you're referring to the PowerPoint. That's not a problem. Would it be okay to have 2 teachers on one grade level and then others spanning across the grade levels? Yes, again, we wanted to leave this flexible so that you could decide as a school what makes the most sense for you. There is a place in the application where it says, is there anything else you'd like us to know? Please use that space to tell us anything you want us to take into consideration when we're reviewing your application. There is going to be a large team of reviewers, and every application is going to be reviewed by at least 2 people. So it is a fair process. So again, between 3 and 7 teachers, we are leaving it up to the schools to decide what the best team looks like for your school. And if we have any questions about your team or why, for example, you have 2 teachers on 1 grade level, we will reach out to you between the application due date and the day we notify schools that they're accepted. So between April 22nd and May 25th, to ask any lingering questions we have about your application. More on how to perfect our application would be great. Again, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I promise I'm not hiding anything from you. Hopefully you've taken a look at the rubric that was provided on the website with the materials with information about the application process. We're looking for diverse schools across all 5 boroughs. Really, we're looking for schools that are passionate about getting computer science education going at their school. So again, if you're not currently teaching computer science, that's okay. We won't hold that against you. We are looking for schools that believe that computer science is important and are passionate about being a part of this pilot, and hopefully that will come through in your application. That's what we're looking for. Hopefully that helps. I'd like to know more about the actual program and what it entails. My admin just sent me a link to this webinar. Absolutely, if you visit sepnyc.org/ESCSP, there's a lot of information to review there. So not only are there links to the application itself, but there are PDFs with a ton of information that will hopefully help you with the application process. For the sake of everyone's time, I'm not going to go over that here. But again, if you visit sepnyc.org/ESCSP and check out all the materials there. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me at escsp@strongschools.nyc, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Is your emphasis on bringing technology to schools with little technology, or is the emphasis on enhancing programs that are strong, or is the emphasis on schools with solid teams ready to implement your program? That's a great question. So the goal is to get computer science to New York City elementary schools. So this might be at each of those types of schools. So some schools, we may be bringing computer science to schools with little technology currently, to some schools who have already started doing some of this work, and to some schools with solid teams ready to implement. We're looking for a wide range, which is why it is called a pilot. We're going to see what works this year and then go from there the following year. So each year, it's just a 1-year cycle. Our middle and high school software engineering program just finished their first 3 years, and all 3 years were considered a pilot, and they're just now getting ready to publish their curriculum and what they've learned from those 3 years, and we're getting ready to start cohort 2 in the fall. So again, it's a pilot, and we're looking to learn from it along with schools, and we are going to do our best to work with schools to decide how implementation is going to look at each individual school, because we know no 2 schools in New York City are alike. Everyone has unique needs. So again, we're looking for a wide range of participation. We just need to be sure that there will be follow through at the school. I hope that helps a little bit. It looks like those are all the questions. So I will wait a couple of minutes to see if anyone has any final questions. Otherwise, I'll let you get back to your evenings and your week. I know it's been a busy few weeks of testing and whatnot. So I really appreciate you taking the time out again to join me tonight and to ask these thoughtful questions. And I look forward to reading each of your applications. I see a few more questions coming in, so I am hanging on to see if I can answer those. Here's one. There are several questions on the application that have to do with ensuring the implementation of computer science. Would you say it's best if an administrator complete these questions? Would they have to provide some sort of schedule that shows the time CS will be taught? Great question. So we do imagine several people being involved in completing the application, or at least the person who is completing the application reaching out to various people in the school building about the questions before finalizing their application. It's up to you if you complete it or an administrator completes it, whatever you think will be best. We will help you figure out how to implement this, like I said. So we don't expect you to have all the answers. We just expect you to be thinking about it and to start planning now how you will fit one more thing into your busy school days, how this will look with your school scheduling and curricula and all of that. We just want to see what you're thinking and get a better idea of how your school works so that we could work best with you on the implementation of the pilot. All right, it looks like I've answered all of the questions that have come in. Again, reach out to me if you have further questions. Those of you who have reached out, you know I will get back to you as soon as possible, which is usually pretty quickly. So again, thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing your applications. And thanks again for your interest in bringing computer science to your students. I hope you all have a good night and a good rest of the week.